In this video, I'll show you how to make these document holders. It is extremely easy to make. I'll take you through each step. So this has got a magnetic closure, 4 slots to keep your documents in place. This has got a flap also so that the documents do not fall off. It has got a pen holder also. It's very easy to make and it is an extremely useful product. So let's get started. To make this document holder, you will need a fabric piece that measures 13.5 inches in height and 21 inches in width. Today I'll be making 4 document holders using these 4 beautiful prints. For each one, I have attached a rubber sheet underneath the fabric and added a lining on the other side for support and durability. Instead of a rubber sheet, you can also use buckram, felt or any interfacing that adds strength and structure to the fabric. This is the rubber sheet I usually use for making my bags and accessories. It's available in different thicknesses like 1 mm, 2 mm, 4 mm. For this document holder, I'm using the 2 mm one. For the document slots, take 2 lining pieces measuring 13.5 inches tall and 10.5 inches wide. We'll attach the front slots on the top of these. The front slot pieces are 16 inches tall and 10.5 inches wide. Fold the 16-inch piece in half to make it 8 inches. Then top stitch along the folded edge. Now stitch all 4 sides to secure both the main slot and the front slot. I always leave a little extra at the top whenever I cut the document slot. I add an extra ½ inch because after stitching you may need to trim or make adjustments. The slots are ready. Now we'll cover the raw edges. We only need to cover one side as the other side will be covered later with binding. For this, we'll need 2 more lining pieces, each measuring 13.5 inches in height and 10.5 inches in width. Place them in such a way that on one slot you stitch along the right side and on the other slot you stitch along the left side. This way both raw edges will be covered, then top stitch to finish. And as I mentioned earlier, just top stitch to finish the document slot like this. Top stitching always gives your project a clean and neat finish. Now we'll attach the document slots we just completed to the main panel. Turn the main panel and place it like this. Position the slots carefully on the panel. If your main fabric is directional, make sure it is oriented correctly before attaching the slots. Then place the document slots accordingly and stitch along all 4 sides to secure them. After attaching both the document slots to the main panel, trim off any excess fabric and bring it to a final size of 13.5 inches in height and 21 inches in width. This step helps maintain accuracy when attaching the binding strip in the final stage. To make the flap, take 2 fabric pieces measuring 4 inches in height and 9 inches in width. Now fold them, place them right sides together and stitch along the sides. Then turn it right side out. Since the fabric is thin, add some interfacing to make it sturdy. I am using a 1.5 inch wide buckram strip for this. You can also use rubber sheet or felt instead of buckram. As I mentioned, I am attaching a buckram strip to the flap to make it sturdy and give it a nice structure. The size is around 8 to 8.5 inches. Just iron it to fuse it in place. Now turn the flap right side out and you can already see how nice and sturdy it has become. Shape it properly like this and give it a good press with the iron so it sits flat and neat. Next, we'll do top stitching on three sides. Remember, we are not stitching the top side because it will be covered with binding later. The other three sides need to be top stitched so that there are no raw edges visible, since these edges will be seen on the final file. So go ahead, iron it neatly and top stitch along these three sides. Your flap is ready. Place it on the top of the document slot inside the folder and stitch. I forgot to mention the pen holder that needs to be attached. This is not the stage to attach it. It should be done while making the document slot. So make sure to add it during that step itself. For this, take a small piece of fabric measuring 2 by 2 inches, fold it using the 4-fold method, stitch it, then top stitch along both sides and attach it. Now we will attach the magnetic button on the outer main panel, which will act as the main closure. To attach the magnetic button, first mark the center point from the top vertically. Place the button at least 1.5 to 2 inches away from the edges. This is important because attaching it too close to the edge can make binding difficult later. I have used a magnetic button, but you can also use Velcro or snap buttons. However, if you are using Velcro or snap buttons, it is better to attach them at the beginning stage, right after attaching the main fabric to the rubber sheet. This will give a neater finish. Now we will make the flap panel for the main closure, where we will attach the other part of the magnetic button. For this, take two pieces of fabric measuring 2.75 inches wide and 5 inches tall. Mark them and stitch together with a 0.25-inch seam allowance as shown. Then turn it right side out. I usually turn it right side out first and then insert the buckram. I also add a rubber sheet inside as it makes the flap sturdier and easier to handle. Turning small or cylindrical pieces right side out can be really tricky. So this method makes the process much easier. Before attaching the magnetic button, top stitch on all three sides of the flap. Now we'll attach the other side of the magnetic button to the flap. First, mark the center point on the flap, then place the magnetic button, secure it with this washer, and use a hammer to fix it in place. Now we'll attach the magnetic flap to the main panel. First, position the magnetic flap properly, measure and align it carefully as shown in the video to ensure it is not misaligned and stays in the correct orientation. Always mark the placement on the panel first, then secure it with clips so it doesn't shift. Only then stitch carefully. This step is extremely important as even slight misalignment can make the holder look untidy. Now the main closure with the magnetic button is done and we are on to the final step, binding the folder. This will neatly cover all the raw edges and give a clean professional finish. For the binding strip, I have used a piece that's 72 inches long and 1.5 inches wide. If you are a beginner, I recommend using the same fabric so any small mistakes are less noticeable as binding does take a bit of practice. To attach the binding, place the right side of the binding strip against the right side of the folder. Leaving about 2 inches at the start. Stitch all around with a 0.25 inch seam allowance. Then fold it over to the other side. Tuck in the edge by another 0.25 inch and stitch neatly to finish. So with this, your document holder is ready. If you like this video, don't forget to like and share.